Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's newest DLC is one of the best and most unique things that the series has done in the video game space in years. As we all know, Kakarot is the newest DBZ RPG on the market, with some calling it the definitive DBZ RPG experience. But the 23rd Budokai DLC, also known as DLC 5, is one of the best parts of the entire game, in my opinion. But why is that? Now, first off, when starting the DLC, I really didn't know what to expect. I purposely held off from watching anything aside from the trailers, just so I'd be genuinely surprised. And I did not expect to see Kid Goku in here. That blew my freaking mind. Now, granted, you only get to use him in the first battle, which is almost similar to a tutorial for the new ground mechanics, which we'll touch on more in a minute. But this was enough for me. He even comes with his own supers, including a power pole attack. I feel like it's so important they added this section of the game, because the original Dragon Ball is extremely overlooked. Of course, there's the entire Piccolo Jr. saga that's playable after this, where admittedly Goku still does look a bit younger than his Z self, and of course that is still considered OG Dragon Ball. But I feel as though the short Kid Goku really encapsulates the OG Dragon Ball feel. More importantly, and I could be wrong, but I do feel as though most kids these days have never watched the original series, having grown up with DBZ Kai, or in some situations, even DBS. This could truly help bring the attention to it that's much needed, so we can maybe get an actual full-length Dragon Ball RPG. That's pretty far-fetched, I know, but this is the closest we've gotten to that since Revenge of King Piccolo on the Wii, and some handheld Dragon Ball games back in the 2000s. Moving on though, the story is really quick to complete. Although there is post-game content, which we'll touch on momentarily, it took me just a little over 2 hours to complete the main story, which is understandable considering it's just the tournament arc and there's also only 2 playable characters in the entire DLC. That being said, a large, and I mean large, portion of this DLC is just story and cutscenes. If you took that away, the actual runtime would probably be somewhere near 60 minutes. But the cutscenes are beautiful. For what it was, I really enjoyed watching the cutscenes that much that it didn't take away from the game for me. It almost felt like watching a brand new DBZ story, because I haven't seen this arc in so freaking long.
This is insane!
Also, maybe it's been a while since I've played, but I feel like these animations look better than the base game. They look so damn good, pristine, almost like borderline movie quality in some segments. Dragon Ball has absolutely never looked this good, and let's be honest, this series has aged quite a lot. I mean, it's from the damn 80s, and it was nothing short of a treat as an OG fan to see it looking this good. Can we get an OG Dragon Ball Kai, anybody? Toei? Please? Now, of course, we all love DB games for the ability to fly freely, but to be honest, the ground controls were really fun to learn, and dare I say, refreshing as all hell. I wasn't sure how a DB game without flying would go, but it does feel really natural. The main difference, at least that I noticed, is it definitely ups the difficulty in a much needed good way. Not being able to fly makes dodging attacks that much harder, and I've always felt the main game was just a little bit too easy for my liking, so this felt just right. In addition, the tournament stage has its own set of rules as well. You can ring out your opponents, which is easier said than done. Also, if you lose all your health, you have a chance to get back up, just like in the anime. Really, really nice touch. By the way, the tournament stage looks super accurate as well, and the announcer also accurately depicts a play-by-play, which is really cool. They did a fantastic job here. Now, as I mentioned, you get to play as two characters in the DLC. One being brand new to the game, Tien. Playing as Old Three Eyes was actually really fun. It's honestly pretty disappointing that they didn't add him to the main game. They not only allow you to fight as Tien in one of the tournament matches, but they also dive into his backstory as an assassin in training. This was incredible and gave attention to a much deserving and, in my opinion, severely underrated character. You even get all the attacks you'd expect, like Solar Flare, Tri-Beam, and even Dodon Ray. That being said, it is quite a shame that some characters still aren't playable, like Krillin or Yamcha.
Translated, it means your life is over, buddy!
And they even skip over the Goku versus Chi-Chi fight in place of a cutscene that, well, I'm not gonna lie, it looks incredible. But still, I would have liked to play this, so it is a bit of a disappointment. I am happy to see them shine and get the spotlight, in some form though.
It's difficult to believe that.
The highlights of the game is, of course, the fight with Piccolo himself. The final boss is broken into 3 sections. First being the initial fight, Goku versus Giant Piccolo, and then the final fight with the entire tournament ring destroyed. This was an absolute blast to play through, and probably my favorite fight of the entirety of Kakarot. The attacks Piccolo uses that you have to avoid, the uniqueness of the Giant Piccolo fight, and the sheer difficulty of it all. Even in the first round, I got wrung out, and the final, I was downed and need to get up before the count of 10. Also, the way they animate this is incredible. The fight montage near the end brought back so much nostalgia for me. You also have to appreciate the little things here, like how they referred to Piccolo as Junior, even near his health bar. Now, while that is where the main story ends, there is plenty of post-game content to work through. There's at least 5 sub-stories, a new horde mode, which is called Patrol Missions, where police officers will give you items in exchange for taking on hordes of thugs, and also harder training levels, where you can replay the fight with King Piccolo as Kid Goku. Now, a lot of the later ones are very difficult, going as far as level 150, so you'll have a lot of grinding to do to even stand a chance against some of these guys.
Knowing him, he'll just keep getting stronger and show up when we least expect him.
But before we wrap this up, let's discuss why this DLC was so important, at least in my opinion. Like I said previously, the OG Dragon Ball is just so overlooked these days. In its place, we get DBZ game after DBZ game retelling the same old story that we all know and love, but it does get old. And in reality, there is just so much more content available that is completely underutilized in the DB universe. Also, seeing the original series redone like this almost 40 years later is incredible. Maybe, just maybe, and this is a reach, but maybe we can get more fans hyped about the OG Dragon Ball and perhaps get a full-length RPG game based strictly off Pilaf through the Piccolo Jr. sagas. I mean, that would be freaking amazing. There's also so much important stuff that happens in this arc that I completely forgot about. For instance, Goku fulfills his promise of marriage to Chi-Chi after, I don't know, 9 years or so. Piccolo, as we know him to this day, is introduced. Also, the characters that are legit jokes in the current timeline are able to shine, and kids can see what badasses that they once were. I'm looking at you, Yamcha. Guys, there's so much more I want to say about this DLC, but this video is already way longer than I originally intended, so we'll end it there for the sake of me editing it. But I really do hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, listen, only 2% of you are subscribed, so do me a huge solid, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon with a full-length video. Peace, and love you guys.